Shiva Swati Bhagavatam Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paripraj Kacharya Ashto Tirusat Shri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Raj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Welcome everybody to Srimad Bhagavatam reading with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026, and we are beginning with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, Text 43.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narduvacha. Iti tau dampati tatra. Samudya samayam mitaha. Tam pravisha purim rajan. Mumudate shatam samaha. The great sage Nard continued, "My dear king, these two, the man and the woman, supporting one another through mutual understanding, entered that city and enjoyed life for 100 years. Purport: 100 years is significant in this connection because every human being is given the concession to live up to 100 years. Would someone else like to read? My voice is a little hoarse today.
Saraswati Machi, are you available?
Pranams Param Puja Guru Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas. Purport. 100 years is significant in this connection because every human being is given the concession to live up to 100 years. The span of life is different on different planets according to the planet's distance from the sun. In other words, 100 years on this planet is different from 100 years on another planet. Lord Brahma lives for 100 years according to time on the Brahmaloka planet. But one day of Brahma is equal to millions of years on this planet. Similarly, the days on the heavenly planets are equal to 6 months on this planet. On every planet, however, the span of life for a human being is roughly 100 years. According to the lifespans on different planets, the standards of living also differ. Hare Krishna.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Shapadantikam Pandehang Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sujivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Urdhajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lolita Shri Vishakan Vitamstam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchako Patarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyecha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Itito Dhammam Pati Tatra Samudya Samayan Mitaha Tam Pravisha Purim Rajan Mumudate Shatam Sama. Or Dhampati means husband and wife. Now these two have become attracted to one another and they're fixed up as husband and wife. And so they're, by mutual understanding, they're working together for sense gratification. The husband and wife should combine for mutual encouragement, mutual support. But kamasya nendriya priti, not simply for sense gratification. Labho jiveta yavata, jivasya tattva jigyasa, nartayascheha karma. The real purpose should be to regulate the senses and make progress on the path back home, back to Godhead. One only gets 100 years, regardless of what planet, what time frame. But here, mumudate, their business is let us enjoy for 100 years. That's not very good. Any questions, comments? It's also, when we look in third canto, you find that when Kapil Muni and Devahuti were engaged in the enjoyment, then so many years pass just like that. That's the nature of sense gratification. When sense gratification becomes the focus, then time flies, and soon time is over, and one has failed to pursue, to say nothing of reach, the real goal of life. All right. Upagiyamano lalitam tatra tatra jagaya kaihi kridan parivrata stribhir inim avishach chuchao. Many professional singers used to sing about the glories of King Puranjana and his glorious activities. When it was too hot in the summer, he used to enter a reservoir of water. He would surround himself with many women and enjoy their company. Saraswati, would you like to read again?
Yes, purport. A living being has different activities in different stages of life. One stage is called Jagrat, or the life of awakening, and another is called Swapna, or the life of dream. Another stage is called Susupti, or life in an unconscious state, and still another stage occurs after death. In the previous verse, the life of awakening was described. That is, the man and the woman were married and enjoyed life for 100 years. In this verse, life in the dream state is described, for the activities of Puranjana accomplished during the day were also reflected at night in the dream state. Puranjan used to live with his wife for sense enjoyment, and at night this very sense enjoyment was appreciated in different ways. A man sleeps very soundly when he is greatly fatigued, and when a rich man is greatly fatigued, he goes to his garden house with many female friends, and there enters the water and enjoys their company. Such is the tendency of the living entity within this material world. A living entity is never satisfied with a woman unless he is trained in the system of brahmacharya. Generally, a man's tendency is to enjoy many women, and even at the very end of life, the sex impulse is so strong that even though one is very old, he still wants to enjoy the company of young girls. Thus, because of the strong sex impulse, the living entity becomes more and more involved in this material world. Hare Krishna.
So there are three stages in regard to awakening and sleep: Jagrata, Susupti, Jagrata, Swapna, and Susupti. Jagrata means awakened life, Swapna is dreaming, and Susupti is unconsciousness or deep sleep. The stage of sleep where one is so knocked out, as it were, that he doesn't even dream. It's deep and deep sleep. So in the previous verse, the husband and wife enjoy for 100 years, so they're awake to sense enjoyment. And here, they're dreaming of sense enjoyment. If we pursue sense gratification during the day, we'll dream of sense gratification at night. So Puranjana dreams that he's entering a reservoir of water, surrounded with many women, enjoying their company. These are the kind of dreams, even during the day, a man may dream of such things. And at night, he dreams of such things. When there are many women, then it's sense gratification is enhanced, or enjoyment is enhanced. Therefore, Krishna danced with many gopis to increase the enjoyment, their enjoyment and his enjoyment. We can't enjoy like that. Even to enjoy with one woman is a big deal. But Krishna enjoyed dancing with many. And the conditioned souls may also think, let me enjoy like Krishna. Let me enjoy like Krishna. So this is in a dream. And one dreams that everyone is glorifying him, or that professional singers, the band strikes up the band strikes up, you're great, you're wonderful, you're fantastic, there's no one like you. In one's dreams, one tells oneself such things, or one dreams that others are saying such things. There's also a further comment. And Prabhupada also says, till these dreams are going on, even when one is old, the man is still dreaming of sense gratification. And Prabhupada saw that in France there were people attending clubs or mixing with women. Old men were doing that. The dream is still going on. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, their waking state was summarized by saying they enjoyed for 100 years. Now the sleeping state is described. Playing with women describes his dream state. Because the senses do not function, the actions continue by the impressions of the senses, the women. So here the women with whom he's surrounded represent the impressions in the senses. The senses at night, while we're sleeping, are inactive, but the impressions received through the senses are still bouncing around in the mind. So here, allegorically, those impressions are described as the surrounding women. Then the state of deep sleep is described. He entered the river, the space in the heart, where the jiva resides during deep sleep. Shuchao means during the summer or during deep sleep. Another description is given of deep sleep. How do we know that we were in deep sleep? We don't perceive it, anything while we're deeply sleeping. But we wake up and we say, oh, I was so deep asleep, I wasn't even dreaming. So that state of deep sleep is there. Okay, anything else? Yes, Sarashwati.
So Guru Maharaj, at the end of the material creation, when the conditioned jivas enter back into the body of Mahavishnu, are they also in the state of deep sleep?
So it would seem. Yes.
Thank you.
Saptopari Kata Dwara Purastasyas tu Dve Adaha Pratag Vishya Gatyartam Tasyamya Kashtaneshwaraha. Of the 9 gates in that city, 7 were on the surface and 2 were subterranean. A total of 9 doors were constructed, and these led to different places. All the gates were used by the city's government. Could you read the purport again?
The 7 gates of the body that are situated upwards are the 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. The two subterranean gates are the rectum and the genitals. The king, or the ruler of the body, who is the living entity, uses all these doors to enjoy different types of material pleasures. The system of opening different gates to different places is still evident in old Indian cities. Formerly, a capital was surrounded by walls, and one passed through various gates to go to various cities or towards specific directions. In Old Delhi, there is still remnants of surrounding walls and various gates known as the Kashmiri Gate, the Lahori Gate, etc. Similarly, in Ahmedabad, there is a Delhi Gate. The point of this simile is that the living entity wants to enjoy different types of material opulences, and to this end, nature has given him various holes in his body that he can utilize for sense enjoyment. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Navadvare Pure Dehi, Naivakurvanakani. In the Bhagavad Gita also, the body is described as a city of 9 gates. The gates are the various senses, and they're described here, and how the living entity tries to enjoy through these senses will be described as we go along. Anything else? Panchadwaras tu Paurasya Dakshinaika Tatotara Paschime Dvayamusham Te Namani Nripavarnaye. My dear king, of the 9 doors, 5 led toward the eastern side, 1 led toward the northern side, 1 led toward the southern side, and 2 led toward the western side. I shall try to give the names of these different doors. Yes, purport.
Purport. Of the 7 doors on the surface, namely the 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and 1 mouth, 5 look forward, and these are described as the doors facing the eastern side. Since looking forward means seeing the sun, these are described as the eastern gates, for the sun rises in the east. The gate on the northern side and the gate on the southern side represent the 2 ears, and the 2 gates facing the western side represent the rectum and the genitals. All the doors and gates are described below.
Paris also, there's one train station, Gare du Nord, the northern gate. You go to that train station to travel north, although there are other destinations. So here, yes, it's clear. Kadyota vir mukhi cha prag twara ve katra nirmite vibrajitam janapadam yatitavyam dyumatsakaha. Two gates named Kadyota and Avirmukhi were situated facing the eastern side, but they were constructed in one place. Through those 2 gates, the king used to go to the city of Vibrajita, accompanied by a friend whose name was Duman. Report.
The 2 Kadyota and Avirmukhi mean glowworm and torchlight. This indicates that the 2 eyes, the left eye is less powerful in its ability to see. Although both eyes are constructed in one place, one is stronger than the other in the power to see. The king, or the living entity, uses these 2 gates to see things properly, but he cannot see unless accompanied by a friend whose name is Duman. This friend is the sun. Although the 2 eyes are situated in one place, they have no power to see without the sunlight. Viprajitam janapadam. If one wants to see something very clearly, viprajitam, he must see it with 2 eyes and the assistance of his friend, the sunlight. Within this body, everyone is a king because he uses his different gates according to his own will. Although he is very much proud of his power to see or hear, he is nonetheless dependent on the assistance of nature.
This is described in detail in the Sankhya philosophy. We find it in 3rd canto also, that for each of the senses, there's a sense organ, a sense object, and a deity controlling the senses and sense objects. The senses themselves can't independently do anything. The eye, for example, needs something to see. In order for vision to take place, there must be something to see. That's the sense object of the eye. And there must be the solar deity also, who's the presiding deity over vision. Without the sun or sunlight, again, one can't see. One may have very good eyes, but in the dark, one can't see anything. Or there may be illumination and good eyes, but if there's nothing to see, then the eyes again become useless. So all of the senses in this way are wired in to a system of higher control and dependency. Hare Krishna. Nalini nalini cha prag dvara vekatra nirmite avadhuta sakas tabhyam vishayam yati sodapam. Similarly, in the east, there were 2 sets of gates named Nalini and Nalini, and these were also constructed in one place. Through these gates, the king, accompanied by a friend named Avadhuta, used to go to the city of Saurabha.
The 2 gates named Nalini and Nalini are the 2 nostrils. The living entity enjoys these 2 gates with the help of different avadhutas, or airs, which constitute the breathing process. Through these gates, the living entity goes to the town of Saurabha, or aroma. In other words, the nostrils, with the help of their friend, the air, enjoy various aromas in the material world. Nalini and Nalini are the pipes of the nostrils through which one inhales and exhales, enjoying the aroma of sense pleasure.
We can keep in mind that we're being clued in by Srila Prabhupada to what is being discussed here, what these characters, or yes, what these characters represent, what the gates represent, what the friends represent, what the destinations represent. All of this is being explained to us in the course of the narrative. But King Puranjan is not getting that explanation. Narada is telling him this allegory without explaining it. There's a king, there's a city, there are gates, there are friends with whom the king travels through the gates and visits different destinations. All of this is being told to King Prachinibharahi. And only later, in a coming chapter, is the meaning of the various allegorical representations disclosed. Now the nose is being described, the nostrils, and the presiding deity is Vayu, who is in charge of the air. And the place where the destination is called Saurabh because it has fragrance. The sense object for the senses, for the nostrils, is fragrance. Mukhya nama purastadvas tayapana bahudanao vishayo yati pura rad rasagya vipananditaha. The fifth gate, situated on the eastern side, was named Mukhya, or the chief. Through this gate, accompanied by his friends named Rasagya and Vipana, he used to visit two places named Bahudana and Apana.
The mouth is here described as the chief, or the most important gate. The mouth is a very important entrance because one has two functions to conduct with the mouth. One function is eating and the other is speaking. Our eating is done with the friend, Rasagya, the tongue, which can taste so many different types of food. The tongue is also used for speaking, and it can speak of either material sense enjoyment or Vedic knowledge. Of course, here material sense enjoyment is stressed. Therefore, the word rasagna is used.
Yes. Most important gate, because one performs two essential functions with the mouth, eating and speaking.
Saraswati Machi, are you able to take the chat for the remainder tonight?
Yes.
Thank you.
Vitruhur nipapuriyadvar dakshinena puranjanaha rastram dakshina panchalam yati shuta taranditaha. The southern gate of the city was known as Pitruhu, and through that gate King Puranjana used to visit the city named Dakshina Panchal, accompanied by his friend Shrutadhara.
The right ear is used for karma kandya, or fruitive activities. As long as one is attached to the enjoyment of material resources, he hears from the right ear and uses the five senses to elevate himself to the higher planetary systems like Pitralok. Consequently, the right ear is here described as the Pitruhu gate.
Devahurnama Puryadva Uttarena Puranjanaha Rastram Uttara Panchalam Yati Shruta Nanditaha. On the northern side was the gate named Devahu. Through that gate, King Puranjana used to go with his friend Shrutadhara to the place known as Uttara Panchal.
Purport. The two ears are situated on the northern side and the southern side. The ear on the southern side is very strong and is always anxious to hear about sense enjoyment. The ear on the northern side, however, is used for taking initiation from the spiritual master and for gaining promotion to the spiritual sky. The right ear, or the ear on the southern side, is called Pitru. which indicates that it is used for attaining the higher planetary systems known as Pitraloka. But the left ear, which is known as Devahu, is utilized for hearing about even higher planetary systems, such as Maharlok, Tapalok, and Brahmalok, or yet even higher planets situated in the spiritual universe, where one becomes more inclined to be permanently situated. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 9.25. Yanti deva vrata devan pitran yanti pitra vrataha. Bhutani yanti bhutejya yanti mad yagnopi mam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship ancestors go to the ancestors. And those who worship me will live with me. One who is interested in being happy on this planet as well as after death generally wants to be elevated to the Pitralokas. Such a person can use the right ear for hearing Vedic instructions. However, one who is interested in going to Tapaloka, Brahmaloka, the Vaikuntha planets, or Krishnaloka may take initiation from the spiritual master in order to be elevated to such lokas.
Guru Maharaj, you are muted.
Thank you. Thank you, Madhupati. Generally, people want to hear about sense gratification, but more intelligent want to hear about going back to Godhead. Asuri nama paschadvas taya yati puranjanaha ramakam nama vishayam urmadena samanvitaha. On the western side was a gate named Asuri. Through that gate, King Puranjana used to go to the city of Gramaka, accompanied by his friend Durma.
Madhupati Prabhuji, would you like to read the purport, please?
Krishna Prasad Bhuttal Gurudas Jayādvaita Swami. The gate on the western side of the city was known as Asuri because it was especially meant for the Asuras. The word Asura refers to those who are interested in sense gratification, specifically in sex life, to which they are overly attracted. Thus, Puranjana, the living entity, enjoys himself to his greatest satisfaction by means of the genitals. Consequently, he used to go to the place known as Gramaka. Material sense gratification is also called Gramya, and the place where sex life is indulged into a great extent is called Gramaka. When going to Gramaka, Puranjana used to be accompanied by his friend Durmada. The word Vishaya refers to the four bodily necessities of life: eating, sleeping, mating, and depending. The word Durmadena may be analyzed in this way. Dur means dusta or sinful, and mada means madness. Every living entity who is in contact with material nature is called mada or mad. It is said, Pisachi paile yena mati channa haya, maya grasta jivera haya se bhava udaya. From Premi Varta. When a person is haunted, he becomes practically insane. When one is in insane condition, he speaks all kinds of nonsense. Thus, to become engaged in sense gratification, one has to accept a friend who is durmada or badly affected by the material disease. The word Asuri Nama Paschadvaha are significant in another sense. The sunrise is first visible from the eastern side, the Bay of Bengal, and gradually it progresses towards the west. It is practically experienced that people in the West are more addicted to sense gratification. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself has certified Paschimera Lokasabha Muda Anachar. The more one goes to the western side, the more he will find people disinterested in spiritual life. He will find them behaving against the Vedic standards. Because of this, people living in the West are more addicted to sense gratification. In this Bhagavatam, it is confirmed Asuri Nam Paschat Dvaha. In other words, the population on the western side is interested in the Asuric civilization. That is a materialistic way of life. Lord Chaitanya consequently wanted this Krishna consciousness movement to be preached on the western side of the world so that people addicted to sense gratification might be benefited by his teachings.
You'd like to say something, Manpati?
Oh. I'm just enjoying the nice allegory which is presented by Narad Muni to King Puranjana. And to that allegory is providing important instructions to all of us how on the western side it's meant for the Asuras and where sense gratification is more predominant, and we can also see that and ultimately Srila Prabhupada mentioned that Mahaprabhu's instruction was to spread Krishna consciousness to especially on the western side of, so that people who are more addicted to sense gratification can also take to this holy name of the Lord and join the mission of Mahaprabhu. And that's where Srila Prabhupada was also instructed to go to the West. Yeah, that's pretty much I can pick more on that.
Mukunda, Choran.
I was thinking about how one of your godbrothers, Maharaj, when speaking on this verse, he mentioned that that logically, at least according to this verse or from this description, it would be from Bharatavarsha, or let's say, yeah, it's like the center of Vedic civilization, and then you move westward. And as you move westward, then it's less and less interested in spiritual life. And therefore just east of India, like those Asian countries, he said that would fit because they're so atheistic. So China and Japan and other places. He was mentioning that. And I remember at the time thinking that's noteworthy because at least many Westerners think of, okay, there's the West and there's the East, and the East is more spiritual, and they'll think India is more spiritual, and then of course other Asian countries more spiritual, Buddhism, or at least with more less intense, different, less rajasic living in certain ways. Even like the music in some of those Asian countries, they think, okay, yeah, they're more sattvic, maybe they'd say, but at least some would say they're more spiritual. And then but then at least this devotee was saying, really, yeah, from like India westward, and therefore just east of India, it's like the least, it's like the worst, very averse or uninterested in spiritual life, like China and so on. And that made sense to me. Would you say that that's all accurate? But
That when we go to the so-called East, we're really going to the farthest West. That's the point. Yes.
at least east, at least, yeah, those Asian countries, that would be worse than like America is that fair to say? It seems to fit to me. Would you agree? Do you think that?
because it's farther west ultimately.
Yeah, that like China and those China's actually further west than America even. And it does seem China is less interested in spiritual life, so it fits to me. Is that fair to say that this is describing that also?
Hmm. We could take it that way. We could take it. You can take it in a very limited sense and say that, well, Maharashtra is less advanced than Bengal.
Huh.
But extending it further, you can say England and then further the America and maybe in California. Still worse. Again, with allegories, one has to be a little careful because allegories are by their nature, what's the word, stretchable or open to different kinds of interpretation. So we don't want to be too strict about it. But in one sense, you can use allegories according to your audience or your subject matter or the time and place and circumstances. So, so one could reach that sort of conclusion. I'm in Bali. What do I see? Is there a spiritual culture? There is. I haven't been up and about in Bali very much. I'm mostly on a proofreading marathon for the Vanaprastha adventure. So I'm only really seeing the devotees in the temple, and I'm not, and there are 3 temples, I think, in Bali, at least 3. And I'm not going to the others just because, no, I'm focusing here. Jagadish has been going out more for book distribution. And he says that the people are very humble. Even if they decline to take a book, they do it very humbly. So it's like the sweetest no that you get. Now that said, I've also come to understand that our movement in Bali is rather, what's the word? Somewhat suppressed because, politically speaking, or by politics, because there's appears to be a caste of Brahmins who favor the traditional Balinese brand of Hinduism. Traditional means, of course, lots of different gods, Lord Shiva, perhaps chief among them, and also a conspicuous emphasis on animal sacrifice. So there's animal killing in the name of sacrifice, and it seems that the animal of choice here is pig. The animal of choice is pig. So this is Hinduism in Bali, according to the Hindu establishment. And they're unhappy with our movement because, of course, we don't subscribe to any of that. Rather, we're preaching the opposite, Ma Mekam Sharanam Braja. So they criticize that this is a foreign brand of Hinduism. Of course, where they accept, they have their own scriptures, it seems, or their own writings, but ultimately they accept Mahabharata, Ramayana, other scriptures, which of course are foreign. No one can argue that the Mahabharata or Ramayana originated elsewhere than India. So these sort of what's the invalid or spurious objections are made here, and therefore there's some crimping out of the Hare Krishna movement. Of course, Bali is only one of the islands of Indonesia. In the other islands, the majority is overwhelmingly Muslim. Only in Bali is there a Hindu majority, and that Hindu majority is as described Apparently, Bali is also a big destination for spiritual tourists. Now, what exactly they get when they come here, I'm not quite sure. Jagadish is going today to one place, which is apparently like the place to go if you're a spiritual tourist. Maybe we'll get the report later in the day. Do they agree with the Gita? I haven't, it's not quite clear whether they do. I mean, obviously they don't, because they're preaching something else. And Vamekam Sharanam Vraja. So they don't agree with the Gita, whether they formally accept the Gita as authority. I'm not quite sure.
Our sister, we have a sister who became some sort of meditation teacher, and she took her training courses out there in Bali, and she was describing that as a little tricky because it's such a beautiful place, and they bring all these Westerners out there to train them in meditation and teaching meditation. But you can't get, even when they've set up these nice retreat centers, you can't get quite far enough away from a place that's doing pig sacrifice. And so they'll be doing their meditation retreats, and you'll just at some point hear the loud squealing of a pig being sacrificed. And she said it always sound like a baby crying or something. So she said that was like the one thing that was tough about Bali is it was a beautiful place. They're doing these meditation retreats and everything, but then every once in a while you'd hear like the squealing of a sacrifice. Yeah.
It's interesting. Apparently there's a one chief politician here who's unfavorable to ISKCON since he's come into authority. This suppression is going on. And interestingly, the grounds are, one of the reasons given is that tourism is very important in Bali. But ISKCON, because it presents something other than Balinese culture, direct devotees are dressing like Indians or this or that. So it's discouraging for Balinese tourism. But it seems like the real discouragement, or at least one conspicuous discouragement for Balinese tourism, is the kind of orthodox Balinese Hinduism that he speaks in favor of, with its squealing pigs and gruesome sacrifices. These things are going on.
We have something in the chat box from Murari Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Maharaj, I've heard that rituals are big business for the Hindu priests, and that's another reason they don't like ISKCON, because we threaten that.
Yes, that's understood, that when you have priests who constitute an orthodoxy, then they object to having their orthodoxy democratized, or have their orthodoxy broken. They want to keep a monopoly on spiritual life or spiritual culture. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, found that objectionable. They want to keep a monopoly according to caste, or according to birth, according to nationality, according to this or that. They want to hold a monopoly. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu found that. The local Hindus wanted to do that, and so they approached Chankazi. Oh, these guys are spoiling the Hindu religion. They're spoiling our religion, and you're the governor of all the people, so you have to stop this to protect our religion, just as Islam is protected. Hinduism should be at least reasonably protected. So we need your help to squelch the Sankirtan movement. And the Kazi for some time signed on to that, although he later changed. There's also another island in this region where there's a similar problem from the Orthodox or monopolistic priests. And even, let me just think about how to say this. Give me a moment. Yeah, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement is meant to be expansive. It's not that some small group of people should come into power and prevent the expansion of Krishna consciousness. Rather, Krishna consciousness should be vigorously expanded. Not that, if more centers come, if more, well, then that will be an economic threat to us. We don't need more centers, we need fewer centers so that everything can come through one central funnel. That also is not Prabhupada's spirit. His spirit was that there can be many, more and more, the devotees should open new centers in every corner. Of course, it's not that things should be done without consideration of existing temples and strategies and needs. But when we become over attached to keeping a limited or a grip on things and limit expansion, then that also is not so favorable. Even within one movement, having some variety and competition is healthy. Just it has to be done in a mood of cooperation and without needless criticism of this or that group. But we see that when there's choice and expansion and more centers than one, then people come to this center because it's closer, to that center because they like the style of the preaching more, or the style of the kirtan, or they're friends with someone who's in the leadership, or they like the spirit of that particular temple or church. So according to sociologists, the more people have choice from various vendors, as it might be said, the more the overall marketplace expands. And yeah, you get more people participating. That's cut. All right, we stop here.
Kirtan, yes. Krishna Gante Prabhuji, would you be available to lead the closing kirtan, please?
Yes, Mata. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nita Gaur Haribo, 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 Nita Gaur Haribo, 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 Gaur Haribo, Nita Gaur Premanande Haribo.
Jai Om Vishnupad Purnamhansa Paripurajaka Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anand Vaishnava Ki Jai,
Jai,
Arja Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai,
Jai,
Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai,
Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kundi Ki Govardhan Ki Jai,
Jai,
Abhidham Ki Jai,
Jai,
Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai,
Jai,
Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai,
Jai,
Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna,
Glory to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna,
All glory to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna,
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna,
Gaur Premanande.
Hare Bol.
Thank you, everyone. We will be having our Chaitanya Charitamrita class tomorrow. His Holiness
Hare
Jayādvaita.
Krishna,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare
Gaur.
Krishna,
Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai,
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai,
Gaur Premanande.
Hare 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 Bol, Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Hare Bol,
Hare
Hare Bol, Hare Krishna.
Haribo.